Hello, everybody, and welcome to Atheist Sunday School, your one-stop shop for everything Atheist Sunday and school. And boy, do we have a show for you today. Today, we are covering Isaiah chapters 4 through 7.
I was about to try and say one of the other pronunciations of Isaiah, just to fuck with you, but it's so natural just to say Isaiah.
Yeah, Isaiah. I've honestly heard it both ways.
Yeah.
But anyways, we got quite a show. Today we are talking about something that has been very critical, I would say, in Christian tradition. The sign of Immanuel in chapter 7. So once we get there, oh boy, are we going to have a lot of stuff to talk about, because that's where they have the whole that's where they get the whole being born of a virgin kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's where they get it from, because the Septuagint uses the Greek word for virgin, while the Hebrew does not say that.
Ooh.
It says young woman.
Ooh.
Or that it's also been argued that it just means any woman who hasn't who doesn't have a child yet. Yeah, so it could be a virgin.
Well, it really depends on their marriage practices at the time, right? I mean,
it's the style at the time.
It's kind of gross to think about, but they didn't have the idea of an age of consent really strictly.
Well, yeah, not strictly.
Yeah.
But they still had, rape laws and stuff like that.
Rape laws.
Yeah,
And they also had some practice of when, but it was not well regulated.
Yeah. But either way,
read what we're gonna read on Saturdays coming up, and we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see, I guess.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Anyways, what translation do you have?
I have the King James Version of the Bible, also known as the only real English version of the Bible.
Yeah. How could I forget? I have the English Standard Version of the Bible. We also have Robert Alter's translation of the Hebrew Bible with commentary.
And as well as the Holy Scriptures according to some Jews and the New King James Version of the Bible.
And we have Erdman's commentary on the Bible
We're
here.
also using another book today.
Yes. This is one that I have been reading in preparation for prophetic literature in general. This is Prophecy and the Prophets in Ancient Israel by John Day. That bookmark just went flying right down, didn't it? All right, just right there on the side.
Incredible.
I know, it's really amazing. So this book
Nice. I just figured
has
out how to zoom in.
Wow, good job.
Good job.
This book has a lot of fantastic papers on the subjects, and one of them is by J.J. Collins. Now, J.J. Collins, if you don't know, he is a scholar of apocalyptic literature. That's what he's really good at. And he's written commentaries on, for example, his commentary on Daniel, actually, for the Hermenia series, is what we will be using when we get to Daniel.
Excellent.
And he has written plenty of works on some of the stuff from Qumran and some Enochian stuff, whatever. All of that.
So all the cool stuff.
Yeah, exactly. All the cool stuff, all apocalyptic stuff in general, also Revelation. He has a fantastic book. If you're just looking to get into apocalyptic scholarship, you should definitely consider checking out, what's the name of the fucking book? I already forgot. The Apocalyptic Imagination. Yeah, that's what it's called. It's very good. And his wife is also a scholar, Adela Yarbo Collins, and she writes along the same subjects. And there's a fantastic book by her and it's called Crisis and Catharsis.
Do they also have kids who also are scholars?
I don't know. I actually
topics?
have no idea if they have kids.
That would be funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they probably do.
They could co-produce books, and that's kind of like having kids. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either way, fantastic scholar. So we will be referencing his work today once we get to the sign of Immanuel.
Yeah. All right. And so I think there's probably something that you want to say before we get into it, unless you don't want to. In which case, I'll just hop into chapter 4.
Not even, man. Just feel free to hop right into it.
All right. Well, I'm going to comment on chapter 4.
Oh, are you?
Yeah. It's really short. It's like incredibly short. It's only
it is
6 verses. I'm given a quick gloss over Isaiah, and Isaiah starts
at 40.
At 40.
Yeah.
Yes. So, like, one quick glance over.
It's not so
Isaiah
quick, is it?
1. If these pages were a little smaller. Yeah, this is the shortest chapter in the book, or at least for the first 40 chapters, which is what I'm considering the book.
Yeah. It is very short, and you are very happy to have that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Congratulations. This is an accomplishment.
Indeed. So why don't I hop into it then? Chapter 4. And in that day, 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach. That's interesting. What's that all about, Lawrence?
I think, this is actually a little bit different, just because of the in the Masoretic text, the chapter division is different. Yeah. So yours is actually the end of chapter 3 in the Masoretic text. So I will.
Oh, I see. So if we assume it as the end of chapter 3, then yeah, it makes sense because they're using all of these female,
it's
pronouns.
A continuation. We did say that last time.
Yeah, exactly. The prophecy that began in 3:16 ends in this verse of chapter 4. And then the comment here on it. With much of the eligible male population wiped out on the battlefield, there are no longer enough men to go around. The women forcibly grab the man they find, afraid to let him get away. Wow.
So they're like...
How many dudes died? Damn.
It's been devastating.
Oh, man. It's like working women, right? They'll eat their own bread and wear their own apparel, right?
Yeah, we do not even ask, they say to the man, that you provide material support for us according to the accepted practice. All we want is that you redeem us from our unmarried state, which is a disgrace for nubile women, and that you let us take your name. So it was very, very important to get married, especially in, because this is very exaggerated. In its nature, it's very exaggerated.
You still have to think that it would be rather common that, somebody might send out an army of dudes. 80% of them get wiped out, the tens of thousands, and the 20% come back, and they're like, yeah, that's all that's left. This is what you get to pick from of the dudes.
So that's the worry there.
Yeah.
But this is not like a thing
Anime
that's...
Hero Plot 101.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is literally a harem thing. But, this dude, he's not having a bad time then.
Well, I mean...
in that day, right? He's got 7 women who are all going to take care of him, and all they want is for him to supply the goods.
Yeah, and the thing is, this isn't like a thing that's happening, just so we're clear.
Right.
Yeah, this is all like part of a speech.
Yeah. But in the metaphor,
yeah,
this guy's not having a bad time.
Yeah.
In that day shall the branch of the Lord be beautiful and glorious, and the fruit of the earth shall be excellent and comely for them that are escaped of Israel. So escaped like in the exile, but I mean...
So there is a little bit of commentary on this. Mm-hmm. So in my version, it's written as a prose, and Altered actually does note that most translators and textual critics read this whole short chapter as prose, but the diction is manifestly poetic, and it is possible to scan it as poetry, even though it is somewhat looser metrically than other prophetic poems. The Lord's shoot, would be the people of Israel to the redeemed after a period of devastation and tribulation that will leave a saving remnant who remains in Zion. Yeah. And that's in the next.
All right. And it shall come to pass that he that is left in Zion and he that remaineth in Jerusalem shall be called holy, even every one that is written among the living in Jerusalem. When the Lord shall have washed away the filth of the daughters of Zion.
Yeah, and the daughters of Zion, we've seen them quite a bit, especially in Song of Songs.
Yeah, in Song of Solomon, they the female character did like go about with the daughters of...
Yeah, and apparently the filth indicated by the Hebrew term is excremental. Yep.
Great. Specifically shit. Yeah. Wonderful.
Yeah. And shall have purged the blood of Jerusalem from the midst thereof by the spirit of judgment and by the spirit of burning. Okay. So this is an apocalyptic event.
So, and Jerusalem's blood guilt he shall cleanse from its midst with a wind of justice and a wind of rooting out.
Those are different.
Yeah. Right?
So a spirit of burning sounds like pretty terrible in comparison to like rooting out.
So God will bring justice to the city, but the second term suggests that the implementation of justice involves purging the miscreants. The violence, as Joseph Belkinsop argues, suggests that the term ruah here is to be understood as a sweeping wind rather than as spirit.
Okay.
Yeah.
More vengeance.
But where's the burning here?
I mean, that was verse 4, right?
Yeah, that was verse
there's
4.
no further note on that. Let me check.
Right. So like it's a generic destructive force of some kind.
Although the ESV also has spirit of burning.
Spirit of burning.
Yep. It does sound like an STD.
So we can call it like wind of burning. Like,
well, something like a holy kind of cleanse.
Yeah. So you might imagine like the kind of images where you have it in black and white, and then it starts at one point and then bursts into color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Something like that.
I do know what you were talking about.
Maybe a little more destructive than that. Like, it doesn't sound like a happy thing. Well, yeah,
this is still prophetic about, how horrible. This is still the judgment on Judah portion, right?
Well, it's when the Lord shall have washed away the filth of the daughters of Zion.
Oh, so yeah, Judah,
and purging the blood of Jerusalem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn, Judah should have been better.
And the Lord will create upon every dwelling place of Mount Zion and upon her assemblies a cloud and smoke by day and the shining of a flaming fire by night, for upon all the glory shall be a defense. So that's like the similar. Exodus.
Yep, pillar of fire, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, this is an obvious invocation of the cloud by day and the pillar of fire by night that went before the Israelites in the wilderness.
Oh, what could it be?
Yeah, that miraculous divine protection is now to be recreated in the restored Jerusalem. The pillar of fire from Exodus here undergoes poetic elaboration as the writer adds both nagath, effulgence, and lehava, flame. Yeah, I think that's right.
So like adjectives.
Yes, adjectives.
Well, I guess flame is a noun.
It's still, they're using it as a description.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. All right. And there shall be a tabernacle for a shadow in the daytime from the heat, and for a place of refuge, and for a covert from storm and from rain.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a miniature replaying of the whole Exodus narrative.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have Exodus, right? But then once you get into the land, you have places for shelter.
Yeah, but they specifically have a tent. that the tabernacle that they build.
Yeah.
Is a mobile tent. So we are again like directly in the Exodus scenario. They've got the pillars of cloud and smoke, and they're traveling with a mobile tent, a tabernacle, and it's apparently their only safety, right?
Yeah.
Well, I guess when you were in the desert, wandering about with an inept old guy who talks to God as your leadership, you need all the help you can get.
He used his brother to talk for him, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there shall be a tabernacle for a shadow in the daytime. So they have it set up in the day. It doesn't say they have it set up in the night.
Well, it just says shelter in this translation.
It's just a shelter.
Yeah, so I'm guessing that the KJV was influenced by the fact that they already knew about the Exodus narrative.
It's interesting that they end this chapter here on storm and rain, right? That's very classical, Hebrew God.
Yeah, and also as to whether or not the Exodus narrative was already a thing when this was written, I don't think it was in written form yet, but there could have been some kind of like some sort of very early conception of it, I would think.
Yep. Well, that's actually the end of chapter 4. It's incredibly
very short. Yeah. Did you enjoy that?
It's kind of fun. I mean, short chapters are nice because I don't have to like read a whole bunch of nonsense, but also it's kind of dense here where they have a lot of references to a lot of different things. And that wasn't occurring in some of the other things that we read.
Sure.
Right.
Either way, we can hop into the next chapter then. Yeah, I have nothing noted in this one because, went over in the last episode.
Oh.
Yeah. But you can if you see something good here, feel free to reference it.
I mean, we already went over it, right?
We went over some stuff, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
How much of it?
I mean, some of the introductory stuff we went over.
Okay.
Yeah. But either way, chapter 5, shall we get into it? I think we shall.
Yeah, let's do it to it. Hey, wait a minute. What the hell are you talking about? We haven't shilled to people to share the stream yet.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You got to share the stream. Drop a like if you haven't. We really appreciate it. Subscribe if you haven't. All that good stuff. Okay, let's hop into it.
Yep.
Yeah, I know, right? Amazing. Let me sing for my beloved.
The parallel of this parable of the vineyard would become an early warrant for reading the Song of Songs as an allegory of the love between God and Israel.
Makes sense. Okay.
Yep. The lover here is clearly God, and the vineyard over which the lover labors is the people of Israel. In the Song of Songs, the body of the beloved is represented metaphorically as a vineyard.
It is, yeah, but because it bears fruit.
Yeah.
So anyways, let me sing for my beloved, my love song concerning his vineyard. My beloved had a vineyard on a very fertile hill. He dug it and cleared it of stones.
On a hillside rich in soil. This translation of the phrase following the proposal of Blek Insop is conjectural. The literal sense of the Hebrew word is in a corner or beam of light, sun of oil. The conjectured translation builds on the association of oil with fruitfulness and assumes that the word for corner might extend to a plot of land.
He dug it and cleared it of stones and planted it with choice vines. He built a watchtower in the midst of it, and hewed out a wine vat in it. And he looked for it to yield grapes, but it yielded wild grapes.
Yes, it put forth rotten fruit.
Okay. So that's what they're meaning there by wild. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And now, O inhabitants of Jerusalem and men of Judah, judge between me and my vineyard. What more was there to do for my vineyard that I have not done it? When I looked for it to yield grapes, why did it yield wild grapes?
Wow. It's been a while since that's happened in the Bible, where it's like, this happened, right? X followed by X.
Yeah.
Again, but more emphatic.
And now I will tell you what I will do to my vineyard. I will remove its hedge, and it shall be devoured. Oh no, it's going to be devoured. I will break down its wall, and it shall be trampled down.
This transparent reference of the unprotected vineyard that is trampled by wild beasts is the kingdom of Judah, shorn of defenses, which is overrun by invading armies, which is why they built the wall. Ezra and Nehemiah.
Yeah, they didn't want that to happen ever again.
Yep.
I will make it a waste. It shall not be pruned or hoed. And briars and thorns shall grow up. I will also command the clouds that they rain no rain upon it. So it's going to be a drought too. Wow, he's just devastating.
Everything there is
place.
bad now.
Yeah. Yep. He's really mad.
Yep. Weather conspires with wild beasts to destroy the vineyard.
Yeah, with wild beasts. Foreigners. For the vineyard of the Lord of hosts is the house of Israel, and the men of Judah are his pleasant planting. And he looked for justice, but behold!
Behold!
Bloodshed! For righteousness. But behold!
Behold again.
An outcry. I like that. I like those beholds, yeah.
Wonderful. 2 in 1 verse. 2 in 1/2 of 1 verse.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah.
Now, if only we had that kind of consistency throughout
if
the
only
Bible.
it was behold 6 times in a row.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Woe! And this is a different poem. Woe to those who join house to house, who add field to field. So referencing the people that are now kind of living together as one with the foreigners.
The social injustice against which the prophet inveighs is the consolidation of real estate, houses and fields, in the hands of the exploitative rich, who thus drive the peasantry from their possessions. Landlords.
I guess I get that, sure. All right, anyways. Until there is no more room, and you are made to dwell alone in the midst of the land. Okay, yeah, so then when there's literally no more room for anybody else to live. Yeah. The Lord of hosts has sworn in my hearing. Surely many houses shall be desolate, large and beautiful houses without inhabitant. For 10 acres of vineyard shall yield but 1 bath, and a homer of seed shall yield but an ephah.
These are 2 small units of solid measure against 10 acres, literally 10 yokes, and a large measure, the homer.
Doesn't say how much a homer is.
No, it just says that it's way bigger, and what I guess it's what would be expected, but these 2 units are very small.
Gotcha.
So I guess the translation would be like, I don't know, milliliters or something.
Woe to those who rise early in the morning, that they may run after strong drink, who tarry late into the evening as wine inflames them. So, inflames them, if you drink alcohol, kind of
They're
feel
talking
warm.
about grappa here.
Okay, fair enough. And also, to people who are alcoholics, basically. Wake up in the morning drinking.
Yeah.
They have lyre and harp, tambourine and flute, and wine at their feasts, but they do not regard the deeds of the Lord or see the work of his hands. So it seems like now they're referencing something lavish.
Yeah, it's hedonism.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like pretty outright hedonism where they're just like partying all the time.
Yeah. Don't we all want to do that?
First thing you do in the morning, finish your drink from last night.
No,
of course. Come on.
No. The first thing I do in the morning is finish my drink from this morning.
Yep.
Oh, wow. That's even better.
I mean, how could I not? It's just going to sit there. Yeah. Therefore, my people go into exile for lack of knowledge. Their honored men go hungry, and their multitude is parched with thirst.
Yep.
So they are going poor now. Guessing they can't get food and drink. And for lack of knowledge. Now, is that supposed to be like a faith kind of knowledge?
Where is this? It's
verse 13.
Verse 13.
Yeah.
Therefore is my people exiled for lack of knowledge. Verb tenses in ancient Hebrew poetry are fluid and at times ambiguous, and one suspects prophets purposely exploited the ambiguity. The exile is so certain that it is as if it had already happened, or is about to happen, or will happen before too long.
Fair enough. Therefore, Sheol has enlarged its appetite.
Yes,
and opened its
already.
Exactly, and opened its mouth beyond measure. I think we've seen that exact the enlarging of Sheol's appetite. We've seen that in something before. What was that in? I know we've seen it before.
I wonder. That is verse 14.
Was it the foolish woman who dragged people down to Sheol?
Maybe. It may have been that.
Part of the appetite there somewhere. I don't know. My guess.
Yeah, it may have been that. But I do remember that exact wording from previous readings. Either way. Sheol's gearing up to take a whole bunch of extra people, I guess. Yeah,
and it doesn't reference anything else that uses that wording in Eerdmans.
All right,
and Walter also doesn't, but I do recall it. Maybe it's apocryphal.
Maybe. Can't really be sure. And opened its mouth beyond measure, and the nobility of Jerusalem and her multitude will go down, her revelers, and he who exults in her. Okay, so people who like Jerusalem in this kind of terrible, unfaithful, hedonistic state.
Yeah.
Man is humbled, and each one is brought low, and the eyes of the haughty are brought low.
So this line is picking up the refrain from the prophecy in chapter 2.
Thanks.
Apparently.
I'm glad it got picked up.
Yep.
It deserved it. Really good pilot.
Chapter 2 was the words that Isaiah, the son of Amoz, saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem.
Yeah. I mean, that's the same way the first one starts.
Yeah.
But the Lord of hosts is exalted in justice, and the holy God shows himself holy in righteousness.
Okay, so 1 homer is equal to about 220 liters. 1 bath is 1/10 of a homer, so only 22 liters. An ephah is equal to a bath, but used for dry measurement.
Ah, okay. That's very helpful to know.
Thank you.
I remember we've talked about ephah before.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember homers coming up.
Or baths particularly.
Because they would use the ephah while using their scale.
Yeah, exactly. Then shall the lambs graze as in their pasture, and nomads shall eat among the ruins of the rich. They're going to take it all back.
The goats.
The meek shall inherit the earth.
Yeah, what verse is that?
I have mine is 17.
Okay, and sheep shall graze in their meadows, and goats shall feed in the ruins of the fatted.
Goats, not nomads?
The Masoretic text here reads garim, sojourners, but this translation follows the Septuagint, which appears to have used a Hebrew text that read gedayim, goats. The Hebrew letters for R and D look quite similar. Yeah, they do. It's like that versus that. Right. It says the Hebrew here for the ruins of the fatted is rather compressed with mehim, fatted, a word that generally refers to fatted animals, but the evident reference is to the overstuffed rich who have gorged themselves on the resources of the poor.
Damn rich.
I wonder what Alter's political ideology is.
Yeah, I don't know. Woe to those who draw iniquity with cords of falsehood, who draw sin as with cart ropes. Wow. Okay, so they're just carrying sin everywhere they go.
Everywhere.
Yeah. Who say, let him be quick, let him speed his work, that we may see it. Let the counsel of the Holy One of Israel draw near, and let it come that we may know it.
So this whole speech is an expression of the arrogant complacency of the evildoers. Let God hurry and carry out his plans. We are not worried.
Okay. Yeah, so they just want to see what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're rushing God. Don't rush God.
Yeah.
He'll get to it. When the time is right, at the appropriate, the assigned time, it'll happen.
Yep. The assigned time and place.
Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter.
Yeah.
People just getting all mixed up.
I hate moral relativism so much.
Woe to those who are wise in their own eyes and shrewd in their own sight. So fools. Woe to those who are heroes at drinking wine. Heroes at drinking wine. I love
those
that.
Guys who are like, I'll challenge you to a drinking contest.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
He's a hero.
Whoa,
at drinking wine.
Yeah, if he wins.
Mighty to drink wine and men of valor to mix strong drink.
That makes more sense. But although, you kind of get what they're saying with heroes at drinking wine.
Yeah, the heavy sarcasm is palpable.
Yeah.
In this vehement denunciation, the prophet scarcely aims for subtlety.
Yeah, I bet. And valiant men in mixing strong drink, who acquit the guilty for a bribe and deprive the innocent of his right. Damn sellouts.
Yeah.
Therefore, as the tongue of fire devours the stubble, and as dry grass sinks down in the flame.
The structure of this line is chiastic. In the first verse, it fires the grammatical object consuming the straw. In the second verse, the grammatical subject is the hay disintegrating in the flame. The verb in the second verse, it usually means to go slack or become weak, but something like falling apart is required by the context.
And that brings us into this next part that actually makes sense, considering what you just said.
Yeah.
So their root will be as rottenness, and their blossom go up like dust. For they have rejected the law of the Lord of hosts, and have despised the word of the Holy One of Israel. Therefore the anger of the Lord was kindled against his people, and he stretched out his hand against them and struck them. And the mountains quaked, and their corpses were as refuse in the midst of the streets.
Ugh.
For all this his anger has not turned away, and his hand is stretched out still. That's, wow.
Yeah, why don't you read the next verse? I got some commentary there.
Great. He will raise a signal for nations far away and whistle for them from the ends of the earth. And behold!
Behold!
Behold.
Quickly, speedily they come!
They're coming. God is represented as a kind of general giving the order for invading armies to attack.
That's not new.
Yeah. The identity of the armies is left unstated, heightening the ominous effect. Although Isaiah and his audience would surely have had the imperial forces of Assyria in mind.
I mean, that would make sense, Assyria.
Mm-hmm. If it's Isaiah.
Yeah. Because, as we have discussed many times before on this channel, early Yahwism, I'm not going to call it Judaism, I'm just going to call it Yahwism, because it's probably more appropriate.
I say Abrahamism.
That's also fine, I guess, but I wouldn't. Because the whole Abraham thing and being written later. But either way, or you can call it just early Israelite religion. That's fair enough too.
Yeah,
but either way, it was
Israelites.
It was henotheistic. It started very early on as polytheistic, and then became henotheistic, and then became monotheistic. So at this point, if they're having Yahweh at the top of this pantheon of these lesser gods, and at this point in time, I'm guessing he still would have been a war and storm god, which this imagery makes perfect sense with. Spider the Ateo, I think that's how I'm supposed to say that.
Yes, good.
Thank you for the $1.99, and that is going directly
to Baal, our golden calf, who, when he receives $666 in donations, will command us from on high to get a thetan meter. And then we're going to see who's the most clear.
Only then will he command us.
Yep. Yeah. Only then.
Yeah.
But Baal also, similar storm imagery. And up here where it's talking about hay and flame and all that, that's kind of like they're talking literally about burning bushery. Right?
Yeah, I could see that. All right, anyways. So we had a behold there. None is weary, none stumbles, none slumbers or sleeps. Not a waistband is loose, not a sandal strap broken. Their arrows are sharp, all their bows bent. Their horses' hoofs seem like flint, and their wheels like a whirlwind.
This is one of many instances in which the poetic power of prophetic verse pushes, perhaps not intentionally, in the direction of apocalypse. What the prophet means to do is to make frighteningly vivid through his poetry the terrible onslaught of foreign invaders that is about to overwhelm the kingdom of Judah. The hyperbolic force, however, of the language that he uses is so strong that the attacking army begins to look apocalyptic, its troops unslumbering, the hooves of its horses like flint, the wheels of its chariots like a whirlwind.
Yeah, they're very, very strong.
Yeah.
Their roaring is like a lion. Like young lions, they roar. They growl and seize their prey. They carry it off, and none can rescue. They will growl over it on that day, like the growling of the sea. And if one looks to the land, behold!
Behold!
Behold.
Darkness and distress, and the light is darkened by its clouds.
Yes.
Yeah.
So more apocalyptic imagery here.
Well, yeah. Everything is getting fucked up. He's really not happy about it. He's is pretty much the fault of all the sinful people in Jerusalem and in Judah. So,
well, Alter here says the poetic imagery is insipidly apocalyptic, is dark on the earth and dark in the heaven. This is a reversal of the first moment of creation when "let there be light" drives back the primordial darkness that is over the face of the abyss. The suffix indicating "its" in Hebrew is feminine, and so must refer to the earth, the only feminine noun in this verse. The words for cloud, arifim, appearing only here is high poetic dictation, or diction, a designation linked with a verbal stem that means to drip down as clouds yield rain.
Well, that is neat. And that is also the end of chapter 5.
Yeah, and do you hear that strange sound
I do.
coming out of the ether?
I do hear a strange sound.
There's
a strange sound.
Something on the side of the stream.
Behold, I am your Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and I want to let all you heathens and sinners know that I support this wonderful episode of Atheist Sunday School. Lawrence and Reuben try their very best to bring you the true glory of the Bible, and they need your help. They have provided links to their Patreon page and other social media just for you. Once again, my name is Jesus Christ, and this is Milwaukee Atheists. The Lord is with them. God bless.
Egad!
Jesus Christ!
Wow. Yeah. Demons in the
canvas.
canvas.
I think he knows exactly what we're going to be talking about today. And I think he came here to let us know that it's not actually about him. So,
all right.
Thank you, Jesus.
Yeah, a little
for
spoiler alert.
Yeah. Just had to come in here and steal our thunder.
Here are these books.
Yeah, so we're going to have a vision, a fantastic vision of the Lord to Isaiah. As you do when you're a prophet, you have visions. So
cool.
Yeah, at least that's what you're supposed to do.
Been a while.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw also the Lord sitting upon a throne.
Yeah, this might be 734 BCE, although the regnal chronology is disputed. In any case, the vision in the temple in which Isaiah is commissioned as a prophet is clearly the beginning of his prophetic mission, and this chapter would be the first thing he wrote.
I saw also the Lord sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple.
And the skirts of his robe filled the temple.
Yes, not a train, but his robe.
Darn.
Not a train. Everyone, don't worry. Not a train.
Yep.
Didn't think you'd have to say that today.
Although the word translated here as temple, haikal, generally means palace, and there appears to be a conflation between the two. The scene features both a throne and an altar. One should note that this episode begins in prose, probably because it is a narrative report rather than the prophetic message proper. When dialogue is introduced, the language switches to verse.
Oh, man. Above it stood the seraphim. Each one had 6 wings. With twain he covered his face, and with twain he covered his feet, and with twain did he fly.
Two, just so everyone's clear, with 2.
Yeah, it's King James. It's correct. Don't worry.
And one cried unto another and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory.
Yeah, it is. Let's talk a little bit about the seraphim, shall we?
Yes.
It is not entirely clear what these angelic attendants of God look like. Their name shows the verb that means to burn, and they might be angels of fire, but then why would they need tongs to hold the burning coal? The root saraf is also associated with the burning venom of serpents, and the Book of Kings registers the fact that at one point there were icons of serpents in the temple, leaving open the disquieting possibility that these seraphim are winged snakes.
Thank you, Flip 117100 for the $2 donation.
Ball, thanks
trains.
you. No trains.
No trains.
Amtrak was not involved.
Okay. No trains here. And I think the super chats tend to agree. No trains.
No trains.
No more trains. We're done.
We need a no trains t-shirt.
Yes, we do.
Yep.
There's so many like pro trains things. This would be like
no trains.
No trains.
No trains. It's not in Isaiah. It's not biblical. And one cried unto another and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts, and the whole earth is full of his glory. So this is literally what they say. They just say this to each other.
Yeah.
It's like Pokemon. Where they just say one thing.
Their name.
Yep. And they're just saying this to each other over and over again, singing it, right?
Yeah.
It's Jesus Christ, guys. Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ.
Yep. And the posts of the door moved at the voice of him that cried, and the house was filled with smoke. Then said I, Woe is me, for I am undone, because I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips.
Yeah,
for mine eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts.
Okay, that's an interesting one about being seen there. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
So I am undone. The Hebrew verb could also mean I am struck dumb, and a pun is probably intended. And then on the phrase, for I am a man of impure lips. As with Moses and Jeremiah, the prophet responds to the call to prophecy by stating his unworthiness for the task. But here, pointedly, his unworthiness is implicated in that of his people. Quote, and in a people of impure lips do I dwell. So there is that. And about my eyes have seen the King, Lord of armies.
Yeah, well, he's literally saying at the beginning of this chapter, I saw the Lord sitting on the throne.
Yeah.
Right. Presumably, this is a vision. It's not literally Isaiah coming face to face.
Yeah.
Like Moses style.
Because of the seraphim and stuff.
Though it could be.
It could be. Could be a statue of Yahweh. I'm just saying.
It could be a statue
just saying.
of
Thomas Romer, Invention of God. I'm just saying.
There's that
You're making a good argument here. This is in your favor.
Yeah. There's that scene in Disney Hercules where Hercules goes to the temple and then the statue of Zeus gets up and starts walking around.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very reminiscent of what's going on here. Right. Then flew one of the seraphim unto me, having a live coal in his hand, which he had taken with the tongs from off the altar. So he's not literally holding it.
Right.
Tongs.
It could be. I could be very wrong here, but it could be a purity kind of thing. Like even if they were made of fire, like they had to be touched with the tongs. Although these are holy beings, so you would assume that they wouldn't make it impure.
Right. And you would assume that they would be capable of holding a burning coal.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess never mind.
That's just dudes in outfits.
Here, he laid it upon my mouth and said, Lo, this hath touched thy lips, and thine iniquity is taken away, and thy sin is purged. So it's like a branding, right? They take the coal from the altar that they're using to burn the incense for the Lord, and they literally take the burning coal and have it purge his lips because he said his lips were the problem, right?
Yeah.
Unclean.
Yeah, so this is part of a cleansing scene, a ritual cleansing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of
like branding his face.
Yeah,
to get rid of something.
They shoved a hot coal in his mouth.
Yeah, almost. But yeah, they said, and your crime is gone. I think it's a cleansing thing.
Yeah, it's a cleansing thing.
Not necessarily a branding thing.
It's a particularly like violent cleansing thing.
Also, it's completely not metaphorical, but it's a
yeah.
It's what's the word I'm looking for?
Allegorical?
No, it's you know what? They're just trying to make a point, guys.
Yeah. No, you don't think that the author of this book grabbed a coal and shoved it in his mouth?
I don't think so. I doubt it. He could have.
He could have.
But I doubt it.
You know, that could be why he's writing this book instead of telling people.
Well, the thing is,
we could just find out. I got tongs and coals right here. Let's go ahead.
That's
Lawrence.
true, but
go
let's
ahead.
not do that.
Yeah, oh, no.
So
really?
there's some notes that I want to bring up here. So the words of the prophet are to be distinguished from the text attributed to the prophet, right? Like even if you had the original text, the authors were probably different than the actual prophets themselves. Even if they were recording the actual words of the prophets, it wouldn't have been like it may have been written down by someone else, like it was dictated or something like that.
Right.
Yeah. Anyways.
Right. Okay. So his face is all burned up. His lips, at least, are all burned up. Also, I heard the voice of the Lord saying, "Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?" Then said I, "Here am I, send me." And he said, "Go and tell this people. Hear ye indeed, but understand not, and see ye indeed, but perceive not."
You know, it's interesting that it says us there.
Mm-hmm.
Who will go for us?
Mm.
So this is supposedly God speaking.
Yeah, and I suppose that the apologetic is that it's like a royal us.
Maybe, or maybe they're talking about the seraphim.
Maybe the seraphim.
Yeah,
maybe
but still, who
it's
will go?
Elohim.
Yeah, that too.
But it's definitely a singular God character that we're talking about here, who has like one robe.
Yeah.
And the robe fills the temple. They sit on the throne. So it's a monotheistic chapter, or at least there was a monotheistic image in the first verse here, which may or may not be original. I don't know.
It's really hard to tell.
Yep. So he gets chosen by God to deliver this message. Make the heart of this people fat, and make their ears heavy, and shut their eyes, lest they see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and understand with their heart, and convert and be healed. Then said I, "Lord, how long?" And he answered, "Until the cities be wasted without inhabitant, and the houses without man, and the land be utterly desolate.
Damn.
And the Lord have removed men far away, and there be a great forsaking in the midst of the land. But yet in it shall be a tenth, and it shall return, and shall be eaten as a teil tree, and as an oak."
Like a terebinth.
Whose substance is in them, that when they cast their leaves, so the holy seed shall be the substance thereof.
So this entire chapter probably comes from a later period.
But it also calls...
Well, maybe parts of it were earlier, although I don't know how the division would have been necessarily. But the thing at the end there about, like, you know, till when, O Master, you know, that seems like it's kind of hinting at a later date. So on the textual note here, for the terebinth and the oak, which though felled have a stump within them. Though shelaket, the word represented here as felled, comes to mean leaf fall in modern Hebrew. It derives from a verb meaning to fling away. It most likely refers here to the cutting down of the tree, while most of it is chopped down. It can regenerate from the stump that remains, which would be the saving 10th part of the people. So yeah, the people are going to be ravaged, but you'll come back. So it's very
certain people will be saved too. Like in chapter 4, they talked about it would come to pass that everyone that's written among the living in Jerusalem would be called holy, and that they would remain during some time, and others would escape. But so there's these pockets of safe areas that are chosen by God, right?
And there's this last part here, that last section, the holy seed is its stump. So in part because holy seed, Zerah Kadesh, is an exilic expression, many scholars conclude that this last clause, or even the entire final verse, is a later addition, referring to the community of exiles who remain faithful to the covenant and are destined to become the nucleus of the nation's generation, or maybe even post-exilic.
But this also might call back to both the previous chapters in this book and to Exodus, right, where they say the holy seed shall be the substance thereof, kind of like the manna that was used in the migration in the Exodus, right? So
I don't know if it would be a callback necessarily, but the whole point about it being an exilic expression would mean that there's not necessarily a link between the two narratives.
Yeah. But
it was the style at the time. Yeah.
That's the end of this chapter, and now I think we're getting into
here we go.
We named the video
Chapter 7, the sign of Immanuel. You know what? This bullshit, you can go fucking fuck yourself. We don't fucking need you. Here you go. So you can feel free to flip around. I might reference a few things from here. Go ahead. You can do whatever you want with that. Okay. So we are going to be using J.J. Collins' paper that is in this book right here. All
right. You probably remember a couple of things out of here.
Yeah, I'll reference something. And but either way, the sign of Immanuel. This has been taken to mean Jesus, obviously. And you'll very clearly see why very shortly. So I will hop into it.
So this chapter is not in poetry anymore. It's in prose.
Yep, it is in prose. Yep. In the days of Ahaz, the son of Jotham, son of Uzziah, king of Judah. So this is still even later than what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. Because, the previous chapter was in the days of Uzziah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, in the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord. Okay, so that's when he saw him. Okay, but anyways, in the days of Ahaz, the son of Jotham, son of Uzziah, king of Judah, Rezin, the king of Syria, and Pekah, the son of Remaliah, the king of Israel, came up to Jerusalem to wage war against it. And that was covered in the Deuteronomistic history.
Yes, the northern kingdom of Israel entered into an alliance with Aram to oppose Syria, which was conducting a campaign 734 to 732 BCE in Transjordan, the eastern Galilee, and along the Mediterranean coast. Their purpose in attacking Ahaz was to force him to join their alliance.
Yeah.
Weird way to go about it.
Be my friend or die.
Anyways, they came to Jerusalem to wage war against it, but could not yet mount an attack against it. When the house of David was told, Syria is in league with Ephraim, the heart of Ahaz and the heart of his people shook as the trees of the forest shake before the wind. They were just so hurt by this. They were shocked.
They were shook.
Yeah, they were shook. Literally shaking. And the Lord said to Uzziah, go out to meet Ahaz, you and Shear-Jashub, your son, at the end of the conduit of the upper pool on the highway to the washer's field. Man, lots of references there.
Yeah, the Shear-Jashub, like other prophetic progeny, Isaiah's son has a symbolic name. It means a remnant shall come back.
Yeah. A remnant shall return is the textual note here.
Yes.
And say to him, be careful, be quiet, do not fear, and do not let your heart be faint. because of these two smoldering stumps of firebrands at the fierce anger of Rezin and Syria and the son of Remaliah, because Syria with Ephraim and the son of Remaliah has devised evil against you, saying, let us go up against Judah and terrify it, and let us conquer it for ourselves, and set up the son of Tabeel as king in the midst of it. Thus,
so that is like a puppet king.
Yeah, exactly.
His patronymic suggests he was probably an Aramaean.
Also, the whole thing about, like, do not fear, that's not really a prophetic thing. That's just like a calm down, everything will be okay kind of thing. Like, it's a reassurance kind of thing.
Yeah.
Thus says the Lord God, it shall not stand, and it shall not come to pass.
So now we're getting back into poetry.
Yeah, at least for now.
Yep.
For the head of Syria is Damascus, and the head of Damascus is Rezin. Damascus was the capital. Oh. And within 65 years, Ephraim will be shattered from being a people.
The prophecy of the destruction of the northern kingdom, which occurred in 721 BCE, looks very much like a later interpretation, invited by the momentum of the prophecy of the interruption of the reign of Rezin and Pekah. The 65-year span is nevertheless puzzling, because this prophecy would have been enunciated perhaps a dozen years before Assyria overwhelmed the northern kingdom.
Yeah, there's a little bit more here on the 65 years. So according to the text as we have it, Isaiah's initial message to Ahaz was one of reassurance. Take heed, be quiet, do not fear. This seems entirely plausible in the context of the Syro-Ephraimite war. The oracle in verses 7 and 8 for the head of Aram is Damascus confirms this message. If we exclude the reference to 65 years as a gloss, the point is that Rezin and the son of Remaliah are mere mortals and nothing for Ahaz to be afraid of. If the reference to 65 years is correct, it must be a gloss added in confirmation of the eventual demise of Ephraim. But in fact, Samaria was destroyed a mere 12 years after this incident. The conclusion of this oracle, we'll get to that at some point. Actually, yeah, after I get to the conclusion of the oracle, we'll hop back into that. Okay. So leave that open right there. Okay. Anyways, and the head of Ephraim is Samaria, and the head of Samaria is the son of Remaliah. If you are not firm in faith, you will not be firm at all. Yeah, so the reference there is could be something like the Davidic covenant. If you guys remember that the dynastic promise in 2 Samuel 7, the whole standing firm, and then it wasn't conditional, and then it was. So there are some notes that Collins makes on this.
Well, Alter says this cryptic declaration, the Hebrew involves wordplay, is a little enigmatic, though it probably means that if Ahaz does not trust Isaiah and hold out against Rezin and Pekah, he will come to a bad end.
That is an interesting take. Collins notes that there are in the Bible different understandings of the nature of the promise to David. 2 Samuel 7 is very emphatic that while the king is subject to punishment for his offenses, quote, I will not take my steadfast love from him as I took it from Saul. Your house and your kingdom shall be made sure forever. Made sure forever before me. Your throne shall be established forever. In contrast, Solomon's prayer in 1 Kings 8:25 formulates the promise as follows. There shall never fail you a successor before me to sit on the throne of Israel. If only your children look to their way, to walk before me, basically following all the godly stuff. The conditional view of the covenant is also found in, the whole bunch of other places. So there are a lot of hints, notes of Deuteronomistic theology in here. Follow the rules because that's the only way good things are going to come to you.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And there's been some discussion over what the phrase what standing firm would be. If you are not firm in faith, you will not be made firm.
Right, because it's vague terminology.
Yeah. You know what? I can't seem to find it right now, but there is you know what? I'll have to reference it later. Maybe I'll make a post about it or something because I can't seem to find it. But yeah, there's a good amount of debate over why it's written the way it is. Either way, for now, let's continue, and I'm sure at some point you might want to quote this section on the messianic interpretation.
Yeah.
Once we get to it, because it's coming up right now. It's the sign of Immanuel, the sign of Jesus.
Jesus.
Yeah. So how about we get to that? Again, the Lord spoke to Ahaz. Ask a sign of the Lord your God. Let it be deep as Sheol or high as heaven. It's interesting that. So God is telling Ahaz to ask for a sign? Mm-hmm. Is that what's going on here?
Yeah, it sounds like that.
Which is weird.
Do you want help?
Oh, no.
Do you need help?
It says, so God is commanding Ahaz to go to the people, and when he's in front of the people, to ask for it.
Okay. But Ahaz said, I will not ask, and I will not put the Lord to the test. And he said, Hear then, O house of David. Is it too little for you to weary men that you weary my God also?
This is Isaiah talking.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense that it is Isaiah talking because they had Ahaz talking and it was...
Yeah, the weary also means to incapacitate, which apparently isn't appropriate in this context.
Therefore, the Lord himself will give you a sign. Oh, wait, so hold on. So, what's the translation of verse 10 for altar?
Translation of verse 10, he has 10 and 11 on the same line of text.
Okay, sure, just read the whole thing.
And the Lord spoke out again to Ahaz, saying, Ask for a sign from the people of the Lord your God.
Okay.
Make it as deep as Sheol or high above. And that might also be 12.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So at verse 13, is that when Isaiah is speaking?
Yeah, Isaiah starts speaking at verse 13.
Weird, okay.
Now this next verse that you're getting into.
Yeah, this is going to be big.
Yeah.
So this is where people get the whole virgin birth thing. Therefore, the Lord himself will give you a sign. Behold!
Behold!
The virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Immanuel. So the word virgin, it's not virgin.
No, it says the young woman. Although the verse generated many centuries of Christological readings emphasizing the virgin birth, the Hebrew Alma does not mean virgin, but rather young woman. And in Proverbs...
The Greek, the Septuagint, is what had virgin.
Yeah. In Proverbs, the Alma is represented engaged in sex. The sign here is the name she gives the child, which means God is with us. Nevertheless, the identity of the young woman is unclear and has been much debated. She might be the prophet's wife because there is a precedent for prophets begetting symbolic sons, or she might be a woman in the house of David. John J. Collins says that 714 may have, it has been claimed plausibly that there has been more has been written about Isaiah 7:14 than any other biblical verse.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so they also have here a bunch of information in the Messianic prophecy.
Yeah, I want to note one thing here. I'm going to read out a section. So, several scholars have argued that Immanuel is the prophet's son by pointing to Isaiah 8:18. I would have done another chapter, but the show would have been too long, especially with the amount of commentary that we're going to have to do here.
Yeah.
So either way, there are connections to other chapters, obviously, which makes sense. So, see, I and the children whom the Lord has given me, are signs and portents in Israel from the Lord of hosts who dwells on Mount Zion. There are 3 sign-bearing children in chapter 7 and 8. Sher Jashub, Immanuel, and Mahar Shalal Hashbaz. Wow, what a horrible name. Ronald Clemens infers rightly that Isaiah 9, 1 through 6 was not part of the Denkschrift, and that was... So in German scholarship, they use that word to be like the unit between chapters 6, 7, and 8. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you can, some people might want to include 9 in that, so this is just like a way of division.
Yeah.
Then once the sequence of 3 sign names belonging to the children is viewed in isolation from the ascension prophecy of 9, 1 through 6, we can see that just as all 3 of the names bear a closely similar message content, so were all 3 children offspring of the prophet. But this does not necessarily follow. While the other 2 children are explicitly acknowledged by the prophet as his sons, Immanuel is not. And while the prophecy attached to Mahar Shalal Hashbaz is essentially the same as that attached to Immanuel, the fact that the prophet begat Mahar Shalal Hashbaz at this time argues against the view that he was also the father of Immanuel. Neither of the other sons carries this association with Davidic tradition. There is nothing miraculous about the birth of Immanuel. The fact that his mother is called whatever the Hebrew word is, has been taken to mean that this was her first child. Jewish tradition identified the child as Hezekiah. Mm. There are notorious chronological problems with this identification. According to 2 Kings 18:10, the fall of Samaria, 722 or 721 BCE, was in the 6th year of Hezekiah. But according to verse 13 in the same chapter, the campaign of Sennacherib in 701 BCE was in his 14th year. Accordingly, his date of ascension is variously given as 728 or 715 BCE. So yeah, there's been quite a lot of debate over, who this person is, who Immanuel is meant to be, but it
is surely not supposed to be Jesus.
It's not Jesus, guys. And this was written centuries before. Come on.
It's also surely not a virgin birth.
Also in chapter 8, chapter 8, verse 8. Mm-hmm. I think that is, it seems to assume that Immanuel has already been born. So
chapter 8, verse 8 says,
and
outstretched wings shall fill your land, Immanuel. So
so he's talking to Immanuel.
Yeah.
Come on. All right. So we're gonna continue. Interesting stuff.
Yeah.
So anyways, his name will be Immanuel.
I'm not aware of any this is Collins. I'm not aware of any pre-Christian Jewish text that reflects a messianic understanding of the passage, unless one thinks that such an understanding is implied by the translation of Alma as Parthenos in the Septuagint of Isaiah.
Parthenos was the virgin one. Yeah. Lots of good stuff. He shall eat curds and honey when he knows how to refuse the evil and choose the good. For before the boy knows how to refuse the evil and choose the good, the land whose 2 kings you dread will be deserted. The Lord will bring upon you. So even if this was Jesus, it wouldn't make sense because the land was not deserted.
Right. And there weren't 2 kings, were there?
Well, the 3 kings. Remember at the beginning?
But if you have Israel and Judah, either way, the Lord will bring upon you and upon your people and upon your father's house such days as have not come since the day that Ephraim departed from Judah, the king of Assyria.
This specification at the end of the sentence is syntactically awkward and may have been added as an explanatory gloss.
Yeah, it would seem, because didn't that very recently just get mentioned.
In any case, the prophecy of an Assyrian onslaught that is an unprecedented disaster for the nation much better suits Sennacherib's campaign against Judah in 701 BCE than the events of 734 to 732 BCE, with which this segment begins.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, and then there's more stuff on the Assyrian invasion afterwards, so in the next chapter. Uh-oh. It's the Rona.
Oh, no, it's Coronario.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, that's horrible.
Yeah. Coronario. Don't play it.
No, it's so bad. It's awful. Anyways. In that day, the Lord will whistle for the fly that is at the end of the streams of Egypt and for the bee that is in the land of Assyria. So, where's he going here?
The swarms of insects, perhaps killer bees in the case of Assyria, are metaphors for the invading armies.
Ah, okay.
There were moments of Egyptian alliance with Assyria, but not in 701 BCE.
Okay. And they will all come and settle in the steep ravines and in the clefts of the rocks and on all the thorn bushes and on all the pastures. In the day that the Lord will shave with a razor that is hired. In that day, the Lord will shave with the razor that is hired beyond the river with the king of Assyria, the head and the hair of their feet, and it will sweep away the beard also. That was really weird to read.
It says, the translation construes the king as the hired razor God uses to wreak destruction.
Gotcha. Okay.
Alter also says the head and the pubic hair and the beard. He says pubic hair is literally hair of the legs, but in this case, legs does appear to be a euphemism for genitals. Shaving of the head, beard, and pubic area is a way of humiliating prisoners. But here it serves as a metaphor for destruction that is brutal and shaming, but not total.
The shaving of the head motif, I don't remember if we've seen that before. It comes up in the New Testament in one of the
Samson and Delilah.
Well, no, I was thinking of like a different one other than that.
It's a pretty obvious one.
But for specifically shame kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I think that there's definitely something in the New Testament about that because it's in one of the epistles, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah, either way. That permeates as well.
We'll get to it.
We will get to it. In that day, a man will keep alive a young cow and 2 sheep. And because of the abundance of milk that they give, he will eat curds, for everyone who is left in the land will eat curds and honey. So they're going to be super happy.
Mm-hmm. Like Immanuel.
Yep. In that day, every place where there used to be 1,000 vines worth 1,000 shekels of silver will become briars and thorns. With bow and arrows, a man will come there, for all the land will be briars and thorns.
Yep, vineyards will turn to brambles, and wild beasts will roam there, hence the need for weapons, bow and arrow.
And as for all the hills that used to be hoed with a hoe, you will not come there for fear of briars and thorns, but they will become a place where cattle are let loose and where sheep tread. So
it says, there the fear of thorn bush and thistle shall not come. It says, though some understand this to mean you shall not come because of the fear of the thorn bush and thistle, the Hebrew lacks any proposition that would be construed as because of. The more likely sense would be, unlike the flatlands, which will be covered with thorn bushes and thistles, the mountain slopes, while not amenable to cultivation, will provide pasture for free roaming cattle.
So that is the end of chapter 7. But one couple things to note here.
One, that it had nothing to do with Jesus.
No, nothing to do with Jesus. It also, it's not messianic. It's not even eschatological. It's it could be argued as apocalyptic because if you include the
it's like a cultural apocalypse.
If you take into account the Greek, like the meaning of the actual Greek word apocalypsis, then yes, this is a revealing because you're talking about a sign to come. Then yes, you could argue this is a revealing. It is a revelation. So you could argue that in the original Greek.
Well, it also has all of the same kind of cues and markers. Like when we were going over Enoch, it had like, what was it? It was like, so I saw, or something like that.
Yeah. So it is.
And they have that here.
Yeah, you can't argue that this is apocalyptic, but you can't say this is apocalyptic in the same sense as any eschatology.
No, it's not like
because eschatology is the end of the world.
Apocalypse.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's also apocalypse used,
or like a coming of a new world.
Right. Yeah. But there's also apocalypse used in different ways in English as well. So like, for example, some people say that Native American tribes went through cultural apocalypses.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? So that's one way that you could use it. And then certainly they go through, I mean, the Jews go through a cultural apocalypse. And then
I'd say so.
Over and over.
Yeah. Always gotta pick on the Jews.
Yeah. But yeah, that's chapter 7. If you enjoyed the stream today, give us a like, comment, subscribe, follow us,
share it around
Twitter and Facebook, share it with your friends, go to our Patreon where for $1 you can get our video scripts, for $5 you can get our self-published
and
books.
just so you know, for video scripts, I just learned how to make them PDFs right on Word.
Wow.
It took me that long. Yesterday. Learned it yesterday.
Better get converting.
Yeah, so they're going to be in PDF form now. So.
Wow. Are you still using the old Word too?
No, I got the
Okay. So I don't have to save things as a doc for you.
Yeah, I had that for a while, but no, I got the new one.
Jeez.
I'm up to date. I am now living in the modern world.
Great. Well, for $10 you can get into our t-shirt giveaway.
Yes, weekly t-shirt giveaways.
Not weekly.
Monthly t-shirt giveaways. Why did I say weekly?
Because
you want to spin that wheel every week.
I don't want
the wheel.
You know what? I do always want to spin the wheel, but like it's just fun. It's just fun spinning a wheel.
Yeah, no. For $20 gets you access to our hangouts once a month.
And then whenever we have our live in person kind of stuff, you get a ticket to that.
Yep, and $50 gets you on one of our weekly shows once a month.
Yeah, it does.
If you donate $100 under different names, different Patreon accounts, you could be on
both shows.
Yeah,
lucky you. Let's see what else we got going on. So we got the Patreon. It's really nice. Link is in the description. We also have a wish list, Amazon wish list. We have lots of books on there.
Yeah, add more books to the table, add more books to our general repertoire from which we will produce more content for you.
Damn straight. Damn Skippy. You gotta get on that.
Yep. And
lots of books. Link is also in the description for the wish list.
So yeah, follow us, Facebook, Twitter, vote for us for president.
It's free to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. If I could speak English,
yeah, it's
free
also
to vote for us for president.
Yeah, it's free to vote for us for president.
I feel like that's something else, don't we? Teespring. Just go to our Teespring, get a shirt. Yeah. I think that's it.
There's probably more. Gmail.
Amazon wish list.
We already said that.
Oh, then
yeah, Amazon wish list. Okay, great. Anyways, everything's been shilled. All links are in the description. And until next time, we will see you on Friday
/ Sunday.
Get this.